Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Yeah.
Yet another leftist who has to argue with himself because arguing with somebody who actually knows what they're doing isn't that easy for them. And it's quite ironic that you immediately start going to drugs even though drugs are already illegal in pretty much every part of the US and people still manage to get their hands on them. It's almost like outlawing something doesn't mean it's not going to be available. People who want to do drugs will still get their hands on drugs. People who want to use guns to commit violent crimes are still going to do it. Just look at Latin America. Actually, let's go one step further. Let's look at Latin America's gun culture prior to the attempt at gun control. Yes, most of these Latin American nations also had a gun culture, just like the United States. Many of these Latin American nations also had a constitutional right to keep and bear arms, just like the United States, because all of these Latin American nations, or at least most of them, started as a revolution against colonial European powers. Before you say anything about, oh, they get their guns from the US, from who exactly in the US? Because anybody can look up Operation Fast and Furious and tell that the feds have been arming these cartels for years. It's not like leftists are completely unaware of this. Y'all always bring up the fact that the CIA and ATF are always funding insurgencies against socialist regimes in Latin America whenever it fits your narrative. Like seriously, be consistent or be quiet. Gun control in the US would be just as ineffective as it is in Latin America for the same reasons it's not effective in Latin America. Hell, the little bit of gun control we do have in the US actually makes it worse. Seriously, look up how many school shootings there were prior to 1990 when the Federal Firearm Exclusion Act was passed. There weren't a whole lot. School shootings didn't even start becoming commonplace until the Columbine shooting, when every psycho in America realized, hey, schools are gun-free zones. I can pretty much walk up in there with a firearm and nobody can stop me. Hell, even before the 1980s, it used to be perfectly legal to own a fully automatic machine gun until Ronald Reagan came along. And yes, I'm taking a jab at the Republicans because y'all have arguably passed more gun control than anyone in this country. But isn't it amazing that even when fully automatic machine guns were legal in this country, school shootings weren't really a thing? And that's probably because it was commonplace to take your guns to school. Teachers took their guns to school. Students took their guns to school. Schools literally had shooting teams back then. So yeah, if you tried to shoot up a school in the 1970s, you would probably get shot doing it. And the crown jewel is that you bring up unaliving rates. Isn't that a mental health problem? You know, the thing that y'all are quick to dismiss anytime somebody brings it up as part of the gun problem in the US? Japan has a pretty high self-unaliving rate, but they have strict gun control already. Speaking as somebody who has struggled with depression, if somebody wants to take themselves out, not having access to a firearm isn't going to stop them. There's multiple different ways to take your own life that does not involve using a firearm. I've attempted it! And before anyone says it, shut up. Socialized healthcare is not the answer. I know from personal experience because I have been in state institutions. The government does a terrible job running mental health, and I'll be damned if I let them take full control of it. Seriously, I have dealt with private mental health care and I have dealt with tax-funded mental health care. I'd rather pay an arm and a leg for the private mental health care by a long shot. Sure, I might go into debt, but at least I'll be alive to be in debt instead of being pushed over the edge and overdosed on medications that I didn't need for an illness I didn't have. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I digress. But why is it that y'all will deny the mental health issues associated with the gun violence, but then use it when it fits your narrative? Please explain that one to me. At the end of the day, the guns aren't the problem. Ineffective government policy is.